I'm too sexy for my, too sexy for my. Hey, welcome back. It is Open Tabs number 13, I think. It should be lucky number 13. I'm hoping it's number 13. It should be 13. I keep forgetting what the numbers are, but hopefully it shouldn't really matter. Fingers crossed, innit? Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. But yeah, what's the vibe? Let's see and wait for everyone to come in, and hopefully the sound is where it needs to be at this particular moment. So let's wait for all that things to move and shoes. You know how it is. Give us a moment and whatnot. Full analysis coming in live and direct for you, Mandem. Car, I know how you like your analysis and that. So let's wait for it to all get in there and everyone's in. If everyone's in, then make sure you're liking and all that malarkey. That'll be much appreciated. We've got plenty of stuff to dig into today. This is probably one of the most R-worded beefs that have ever happened in real time, in it. Ariel Helwani versus Brendan Schuab. And who would have ever thought we'd be in a place where, for some reason, we had more sympathy with Ariel Helwani than Brendan Schuab. Again, I don't pay too much attention to MMA journalists, but from what I remember, Ariel Helwani was always somebody that people always kind of tolerated, right? No one really was fan. I guess he had fans, but no one would really go to bat for him in a way that they're going to bat to him now. But Brendan is such an unlikable guy, and he's such a dutz when it comes to dealing with these sort of things. You can't just help but root for Ariel, innit? You just can't help but root for Ariel in this occasion. But yeah, we're gonna get into all of that. I got all the videos queued up. We're gonna watch them all in full. The plan is I'm gonna play probably a minute of them, then stop doing the analysis, talk about some stuff, bust some jokes, and then keep it moving in it. Because I know sometimes when you watch people watch videos and they keep watching them and they keep stopping every 30 seconds, it can get annoying. So I'm gonna stop it for a minute. I'm gonna stop it every minute, say something, play, minute, say something, play, blah 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 blah, and so on and so forth. And hopefully we should get through it with little interruption. I'm saying that now, hopefully, okay? But if I do interrupt too much, then don't be too harsh on me. Don't downvote me to hell. Don't give me a thumbs down, right? Give me a thumbs up if you can. That'll be more than appreciated. I'm just young. I'm still getting started in this. Look at me. I'm so fresh faced, you know what I mean? So yeah, let's do this thing. Load in. Got a few more people coming in now. Welcome, welcome. Make sure you're smashing that like button for me if it's your first time. And if it's your second time, smash it anyway. You know what I mean? Help the kid out. Help the algorithm notice your boy. I've got my orange t-shirt and I want to get noticed. So, make sure you notice me. Help the computer to notice me, You know how the vibe is. And hopefully I'm coming through nice and loud here with this little mic I've got working on here. I'm at work on a Saturday morning. Thanks for being here. No worries, brother. I'm here always to serve the people. Garmang, always here to serve. Always here to serve. That's what I am. That's what people used to call me in school, Agostino the server. Used to come through whenever you needed something, you know what I mean? A couple of ice creams, some hula hoops, maybe a lolly or two. Man's got it. It might not be in the best condition. Might have a couple of hairs on it. Some fluff in my pocket, but I got you still. Either way, I got you. Know what I mean? Don't be mad, man. Don't cry, innit? Don't be sad. The man's got you. I got you. I got you. I got you. But yeah, let's get everybody rolling in. Again, episode 13 of Open Tabs. We're doing them. I'm going to try and do them once a week, actually. It's quite fun, isn't it? It's a bit of a hassle to get live stream stuff sorted. I know most of you are aware of this. When you use stuff like Streamlabs and whatnot to get it set up, and I've only got a MacBook Air, and it's not necessarily meant to be used in this way. I think mine's on fire right now, connected to a HDMI port, connected to a monitor, connected to this, connected to a webcam. It's a lot, you know what I mean? It's like it's flipping on this edge, right at death's door, thinking, please, no more Agostino, no more. But whatever, man. Stop complaining. Don't cry. This isn't the moment to cry right now. But yeah, let me just turn off all the extra peripheral stuff I don't need. Take off the Bluetooth and thing. More people are coming in. But yeah, let's get it cracking, innit? Let's get this thing crack-a-lacking. Because why are we delaying? You know what I mean? What's the runtime? 4 minutes. Let's give it a couple more minutes. Let more people come in and then we're going to go straight into it. Analysis of Brendan Schuab versus Ariel Helwani. I'm not sure what round this is. This is probably round 2. It probably won't go on further than this because Brendan's going to pretend like he's over it and doesn't read comments and shit, which, we clearly know he does. But yeah, let's just progress and get through it bit by bit and see who's in the right, who's in the wrong. clearly we know who's in the right, who's in the wrong, but it's still fun to go over it anyway, and regardless, man, it's still hilarious to go over these things. Oh yeah, and if you're watching and you're in the chat, make sure you let me know if I'm sounding okay. I've not got my stuff on monitored, so I don't know if I'm coming out good. From the levels I can see on my Streamlabs, it should be okay. I'm just above, I'm just hovering at the top of the yellow, touching onto the red, so it shouldn't be too loud, I'm hoping. If it is, let me know and I can tweak that thing for you. Now, I mean, want this to be crystal clear, but not too clear. I mean, we don't want that kind of. We don't want Soldier Boy playing his tunes. You remember Soldier Boy when you're streaming, you're playing his songs like mad loud, and you got angry at people complaining in the chat. Like, go to another stream. Then this is how I play my stuff. It's like Jesus Christ, murdering the earlobes. So yeah, if the sound is coming through correct, let me know in the chat. That'd be much appreciated. That would be much appreciated. But yeah, where we are, 5-6 minutes. Yeah, let's just jump in on it. Let's get in. Let's get involved. Let's do the thing. Let's do the thing. So, as most of you are aware, there is an ongoing feud at the moment going on between Ariel Helwani and Brendan Schaub, probably one of the most irrelevant and nonsensical and downright comical and idiotic and pathetic beefs I've ever seen on the history of the internet. But it's a pandemic world. We're all bored. We've got nothing to do. I'm here on a weekend, just chilling, nothing to do, no hobbies, no friends. So the best thing we're going to do is obviously analyze this discussion and this beef, this verbal back and forth between these two heavyweights in an MMA community scene. Actually, not two heavyweights in a community scene, one heavyweight and one guy that was an ex-MMA fighter or ex-UFC heavyweight and who kind of, larps around as a UFC analysis of some sort, but he doesn't really analyze fights, let's be for real, innit? So the back and forth, from what I can remember, I'm sure there's something else we're missing. I'm sure there's some underlying beef that they have, or Brendan just doesn't like the guy. Because I think one theory out there is that supposedly Ariel has some sort of beef with Luke Thomas, who is part of is it Morning Combat thing he does with Brian Campbell, right, on Showtime? Was it Showtime? Yeah, on Showtime. So allegedly, Ariel Helwani and Luke Thomas have beef. And because, Brendan is Luke Thomas's boy and he helped to get him a job at Showtime, obviously he's going to be riding for his guy. But I'm still think that there's something else going on there behind it. I don't know. It just seems a bit weird that he'd go that hell for leather or something in it. Because if there's one thing we know about Brendan, he doesn't really have any loyalties in it. He's only loyal to the people that have the most followers. And because Harry Helwani is so controversial and he ruffles feathers, you just imagine that he'd be more his friend than Luke Thomas, who happens to be a little bit more middle of the road, appease everybody. Whenever he's got a fight on his show, he pretends they're their best friends. I mean, it's never usually that deep. So, I think there's something else going on there. My theory originally was that Ariel Helwani was obviously, once he left ESPN, Showtime obviously were, they put out the bat signal or let him come into test. He heard about it, and maybe through the grapevine, through his agent, because, Hollywood agents, they all talk, managers and whatnot. He might have heard or found out that Showtime were planning to do what they were planning to do with Ariel all along. So he knew this beforehand. And obviously that put his nose out of joint because at the same time, again, this is me just guessing from the outside, something occurred between Brendan and Showtime where the discussions or the new renegotiations, something broke down because he hasn't really spoken about his contract being renewed. He hasn't really spoken about new ventures he's trying to do. He's got this whole Thick Boy Studios thing. He does the live fight companions on his own channel. It's not done through Showtime, which is a bit odd because Showtime obviously has below the belt. Why wouldn't they want to have his fight companion on the same network too? It's easy money, easy free views. So I think maybe it wasn't the Ariel's fault. Maybe it's kind of a coincidence. Like the moment Ariel left ESPN and it's like flirting with Showtime was a moment that the discussions between Brendan and Showtime broke down too. But something happened there, and I'm sure that is what led to Brendan's kind of like distaste or dislike for Ariel. It's like, yeah, he finally got his own reason not to like him, apart from the Luke Thomas loyalty sort of thing. So I think that's what occurred and happened. And because, think about it, it's a flipping Jake Paul fight card. There's no way in hell that I believe Brendan would not want to do the Jake Paul fight card in favor of going to do the fight companion. If anything, that whole line about, oh, I'm here with you guys, I'm happy to be with you, was something that he kind of heard Joe Rogan say. He does that a lot sometimes when people, whenever they do a fight companion, they'd be like, oh man, how come you weren't there, man? Doing this with us. He'd be like, look, I much prefer doing this than being on job and in front of camera and having to interview fighters and stuff. This is way more fun, having, alcohol and drinking and eating cheese, and talking about conspiracy theories with Eddie Bravo and stuff. I think that's where he copied that sort of spiel from. But I don't necessarily think he purposely or didn't want to do the fight. I think in general they probably offered it to Ariel. He heard, obviously got his nose out of joint, which is fine. I think you're allowed to be a little bit jealous and a little bit annoyed by it, because obviously he's you would say the first face of mixed martial arts on Showtime. When you think of it, you think of Brendan Schaub, rightly or wrongly. So he's within his right to feel a little bit aggrieved that he brought in Luke and Brent and Brian Campbell, who are now pushing and doing their thing. And now, Ariel Helwani has been able to just come in and Jessica jump over him. And his first job was he did the flipping face to faces. He did all the, the coverage around it. He was on Showtime a lot before that fight that Jake Paul had with Tyron Woodley. So I understand it. I definitely understand it. But anyway, the first clip we're going to get through is, I guess, when they reply to the first round of little jabs that Ariel threw out there that, made the whole TFATK subforum, subreddit, go, cuckoo. They basically anointed Ariel Helwani as the new CEO of PF Chang's and all sorts of malarkey. And I knew from that moment on anyway, when Ariel made that video, to be completely fair, that he was never going to get a proper apology from Brendan. Because I think in the video, he basically said, hey, I got a text from Brendan. He said, yeah, I apologize for what I said. Blah, blah. And Ariel was like, you have to keep the same energy when you go on your show. I want you to, basically be this apologetic on your show as you're being in front of text. And I knew he wasn't going to be, because as soon as Brendan saw what Ariel said, and the fact that he was kind of nodding to the haters and stuff, he was never going to go on camera and basically give Ariel what he wanted. He would rather die than acknowledge that, that subreddit exists. So the worst thing he could do was kind of pretend, kind of skirt around it and do what he's doing now. So I guess this is the first reply that they had when they obviously learned the news that Ariel had replied and whatnot. And again, the funny thing about this too is that I think they went on one of the first, again, I haven't watched the show, but from what I analyzed I don't watch the show anymore, the TFATK. But from what I heard on TFATK, on TFATK subreddit, this is the first kind of week break they've taken in a while. And if you know anything about Brendan, he's always bragging about, never taking a day off, never taking one whole week off, and always being around and strict diet and all that nonsense. So the fact that this came just at a time when, Ariel was lighting him up on social media is quite hilarious. But anyway, this is the first clip coming directly from TFATK. Let's play it here, and let's hopefully dive in and analyze the rest of it. Let's get this. There we go.
Not physically, but punch as far as
punches, like you'll say some shit,
and then you have time to think about it, and you feel a little bad.
I feel bad.
Now
you're referring to Ariel Helwani.
I might be referring to Ariel Helwani.
I know.
And I think I just thought it was important to bring it up because.
Now I text him, apologized.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah,
I believe that.
No, I'll show you the text.
We were at the gym.
Yes.
Yeah, we were at the gym.
I was with you guys. I went, I fucked up.
And
I saw you on Monday. I go, I made a mistake. And with the whole Ariel stuff, it's like a drone strike. You're aiming for a target. There's gonna be some casualties. Ariel isn't my focus. We're not even in the same lane.
But Ariel, and I'm gonna say this because I don't know Ariel well, but I think we did a podcast or something with him. Ariel's a very sensitive guy.
Maybe you'll see tonight.
Yeah, he's very sensitive.
When we're at Fox.
Ariel, I've always said Ariel's a very good journalist.
Mm-hmm. He's the best we have.
He has very, very important questions. But Ariel's fucking very sensitive.
I don't know much about him.
Well, he's a very sensitive dude.
Okay, first minute analysis. The interesting part about this, quite clearly, this was basically a rehearsed sort of weird segment they did. They clearly knew they were going to try and segue into the topic in this fashion to try and make it somewhat humorous or to poke fun at it or to whatever going this tangent he goes on. Brendan's face always gives it away. He does that thing that DSP does whenever he's lying. He kind of pulls his weird face. Like even now, he does these weird, whenever he's in a comfortable position or he feels a bit aggrieved, he did these weird like gum bites or he starts to look around or whatnot. Chappelle saying, oh yeah, in the gym the other day. I mean, like that's obviously something he was maybe told to cue in with as well. So that was obviously really fake and obviously not real. And the other thing that's really hilarious about the entire thing is this assertion that somehow Ariel Helwani is sensitive. That's why he got annoyed at what Brendan said. And let's take a step back. During that fight companion, Brendan basically alluded or said, in clear voice that the only reason why Ariel got that job was because he didn't want to get it, right? Which is obviously, super out of order to say. Even if it's true, you just don't say stuff like that out loud. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make you look good. It doesn't make the other person who got the job feel good. It's just a net negative in terms of output. And also, you have to assume that prior to that as well, I think on his own show, Below the Belt, he said quite clearly that Ariel has a very bad reputation work-wise, right? He basically alluded to the fact that, oh, he's a nightmare to deal with. Everyone says he's a nightmare. People don't like him. He's got a bad attitude, blah, 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 blah. Now, I'd imagine in any industry that you work in, especially when it comes to media, having people go on camera saying that is one. No, having people say that behind your back in a scene is one thing. Having people go in front of camera and say, yeah, categorically, this dude is bad for business. He's a bad person to work with. He's a bad colleague. He's a bad teammate. He's going to throw you under the bus. All this kind of stuff isn't necessarily the most professional thing to do. And that person that you're talking about should be within their rights to feel aggrieved and annoyed that you're potentially going to be able to take food out of their kids' mouths and prevent them from making a living, because all it takes is a couple of rumors for you to get, iced out of the scene. We've heard, or I've heard, especially from the little time that I've done, extra work. Most of the time, whenever you're doing extra work and you go to the people that do the catering or people that are doing the hair and makeup, you quite quickly find out who in the industry is a nightmare to deal with. And usually it's the people that you never assume, right? It's usually some people like way out. It's like, oh my God, it's crazy. And I remember one time talking to somebody and they said something along the lines of like, oh, if ever you've sat there wondering to yourself, oh, what happened to XYZ actor? It's usually, they've succumbed to drugs and alcohol, or the industry has said, you can chill. And when the industry says that you can chill, usually it's a consequence of you being a nightmare on set, hard to deal with, non-professional. And then they just say, you know what, we're cool, we can go somewhere else. Because there's obviously a dearth, there's an overabundance of talent that can sit in front of camera and do whatever, whether it's act, present or whatever. They're not struggling for people to come and audition. So if you present to yourself as a pain in the bum, the industry would be like, you know what, you could take a seat. So if you ever wondered if somebody hasn't been on your screen lately and you haven't seen them around, it's usually because, for their own reasoning, whether it's like, they're taking the time out or they've succumbed to drugs and alcohol, or more likely than not, the industry has told them to pause. And the pause usually comes around when people kind of share these little tidbits about you, right? Whether it's publicly or privately, but usually the publicly and the privately mix is usually the bad thing. So for somebody to come out here openly, especially like Brendan, knowing the people that he knows and being an ex-UFC fighter, to openly say, no, this guy is bad for business. Of course, Ariel should be in his rights to be angry, right? He should be in his rights to be frustrated and call him out on it. You don't do that, because if anything, think of it if the shoe was on the other foot. Think if somebody said this about Brendan and said, oh yeah, Brendan's a nightmare to deal with. He doesn't sell tickets. He's shit on stage. He's a bully. Oh, I don't know. Well, let's just make up things, right? He throws people through glass doors. Just imagine how he would feel if someone said that to him. So I think the idea that you can brand somebody sensitive for feeling as if like you are incorrectly characterizing them in public like this and maybe tarnishing their reputation is a little bit out of order. And if anything, it kind of reduces the issue at large. You know what I mean? Because again, you're allowed to feel a way about Ariel privately and stuff, but you shouldn't be getting in front of camera and saying this thing unless you can say it with his chest. And that's the thing too. This isn't Brendan saying my experience with Ariel is a fucking nightmare. That's okay. I think that's perfectly fine. It's your experience. It's him being a little bit of a pussy in that regard and saying, "What? This is what I've heard. The talk around the town." Da, 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 da. He's not really putting a name on it. He's just saying, "I've heard this. I've heard that. I've heard that." Cool. If we're talking about heard, let's all go around and start talking about what they've heard about you as well. Then let's do that. Do you know what I mean? And look at most of your friends have got in trouble because of what people said that they've heard about them. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think that's the right way to go about things. But anyway, let's get back to the video. One more minute and then we stop again.
He's a guy who
He's worked hard for what he has.
no, Ariel's a very good journalist. I said it on the Fight Companion.
He's the best we have.
But he's sensitive.
Oh,
Some
okay.
people are, and he's also. And I'm sensitive, but I'm not going to say anything. Ariel will voice his displeasure.
He'll express it. Okay.
He's a journalist, and he shoots from the hip too, and he speaks his mind. Now you
I
did
would say
say
he shoots from the hip.
no, but you did say. What did you say exactly that he objected to? Did you make a joke?
Did I make a joke?
I think you made a joke.
I said he's like a weatherman because like
No.
journalists to me are like I said, like a weatherman.
Yeah, I remember clocking that, and I went, "Ooh!" When we were doing the podcast, because usually I would have had you.
And you
edit
know
that
I'm not
out.
like that.
No, but you.
And like I said, he was a casualty of the big. I have no issue with him.
I know.
Him working at Showtime has nothing to do with me. We don't even do the same job.
Yeah, I know.
So him being there has nothing. Whether I was there or not, he would have still been there.
Yeah.
So I made it seem like the only reason he was there is because I turned down. That's not the way it went down.
Yeah.
He's great at what he does. I'm good at what.
First of all, when someone says, I don't have a problem with you, they've always have a problem with you. When someone says, I promise you I'm not lying, they're definitely lying. When someone says I'm 100% honest guy, they're definitely not an honest guy. Those affirmations or those kind of statements at the beginning of sentences to prelude to you as a kind of way to reassure you are definitely never reassuring. This whole drone strike thing is weird too. What does that mean? Like the drone strike thing. So I guess he's alluding to the idea that his main aim, or the people that he was actually going for when he said the comment about Ariel being a nightmare to work with, when he said that thing about him not only getting a job because he rejected it, were the people at Showtime, the executives. If that's true, put a name on it. Do you know what I mean? I'm not a fan of all this like chatty patty shit in general, but if you're gonna do it, put a name on it. Do you know what I mean? Like, say it with your chest. Don't come out here and then allude to stuff. Or if you're going to allude to it, make it direct and don't have other people just getting, being just coming in the crosshairs of it, without you wanting to aim at them. This doesn't make any sense completely on that one. And then the thing about, what do you say, weatherman? I don't get the weatherman thing. Is that I don't know what kind of insult that is. Is that like an American thing? Insult, cuss? I don't get how that makes sense. What is he trying to say, that Ariel looks like a bit of a dork? I guess he does. He leans into it. He's not a former athlete or anything. He's not some 4-year-old guy that dresses in sneakers and and trendy hats. Like, that's not really his vibe, which I understand. Everyone's got their thing, but again, him continuing saying, we're not even in the same lane. He was always going to be at Showtime. If I'm going to Showtime, it's a bit underhanded. It's a little bit like I'm above you, and also it doesn't necessarily speak to the truth, because let's be honest here. If Ariel can do everything that Brendan can, but Brendan can't do anything that Ariel can, for the most part. Ariel could easily do the food truck diaries and make that quite interesting. Sorry, food truck diaries, make that interesting. Could Brendan break down the fights like Ariel? Could Brendan interview fighters the way that Ariel does? Could Brendan create stories and drama the way that Ariel does? I don't think he could. So this idea that just because he happens to be more of a lifestyle MMA guy, that he and Ariel are not in the same lane is a bit weird, because if I was Showtime and I wanted to get a good bang for my buck, I'd much prefer to use an Ariel who kind of is going to break down the fight card at least and analyze the fighters a little bit, instead of just sitting, how he does on Below the Belt and reading off the fight card off Wikipedia and just recapping news on MMAfighting.com or something. Ariel seems like the safer bet in that regard. I don't really understand that, but let's continue.
What I do, we're in two separate lanes.
Yeah.
So my issue was not with him, but it came out. He was a byproduct of it.
It sounded like.
Yes, I remember clocking that, and I would have reminded you that I don't want you to put that in there because I knew you didn't mean that, but it was live, and so it probably got back to him. But did something else get back to him? Did you say something about when you come to LA?
Well, I said that on Below the Belt, and Showtime's going to edit all that out.
I'm gonna edit it out.
I said...
Yeah. No, don't say it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
because
I was like, bro.
it's a funny joke. It's a funny joke.
I ain't trying to be
you
with you.
laugh. It's a great joke, but again, and it's not personal. It's funny.
Zero
but
point.
Wait, I want to know what he said.
It's locker room
tell you
humor,
after.
and
Okay.
Ariel's too sensitive for that.
Yeah.
And it,
But also, he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be in my scope, anyways.
Yeah,
he's a byproduct of all this.
So
and I apologize for it. I text him, apologize for it. He wrote me this novel. There's obviously some underlying other issues that he has issues with.
Again, he's such a cock, innit? He's such a wanker, innit? Underlying issues. You obviously have underlying issues. Why are you attacking the man if he's not within your purview? If he's not within your lane? If he's not doing the same job you're doing? Why are you attacking him like this? Why are you trying to damage this guy's reputation? It doesn't make any sense. If anything, he's attacking him the way he was attacking Dana White back in the day. Dana White was a valid target to go after. Look at just the recent comments Dana White's made about, fighters complaining about their pain, basically calling the media scumbags for daring to question the fighter's pay and putting it into the fighter's head that maybe they're getting underpaid, right? Dana's obviously a good target to go after because he's running the UFC disgustingly, right? And he's treating the fighters horrible. You see them flipping crying over flipping fight bonuses. It just fills you with dread in it. So it's just interesting to see him kind of trying to paint himself as like the good guy in this. It's like, you're not the good guy. You just came after this. Again, this all started because Brendan just came out of nowhere and said Ariel's a nightmare to deal with. It's like, okay, cool. But he didn't even say it was his own personal experience. Now he's saying it's a byproduct of other targets he was aiming for. It doesn't make any sense. Obviously, he's going to be writing a novel because you went on camera and you on your very popular show with hundreds of thousands of listeners and you basically discredited it. You know what I mean? Tried to ruin his reputation. So yes, he's going to write you a novel on the DMs. He's allowed to. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't mean he's sensitive. This sensitive thing is so weird. It's very like it's very like jockish, isn't it? What they're doing, like especially even Brian, you got your feet crossed on the chair somewhere. Yeah, I mean, you're wearing a V-neck T-shirt. There's nothing jockey about you. Do you know what I mean? So he's trying to he does that thing whenever he's with Brendan. He does that kind of like guy thing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, we fuck chicks and we yeah, like dude, you're 50 years old. You got 2 kids. You're divorced. Do you know what I mean? You just got in a new relationship. Like, grow up. You know what I mean, grow up. Your career's in tatters, mate. Why are you doing this whole like back and forth weird jock thing? It doesn't make any sense. It's really bizarre. Like sensitive. Like, what does that even mean? Like, are you not allowed to get sensitive or emotional or upset when somebody comes in front? It comes on a very popular podcast and says very disparaging things about you. I don't understand how this makes any sense. Really doesn't make any sense. But again, this whole thing is coerced. This whole thing has been rehearsed, or there was planned to do this beforehand. Again, they don't have any good retort. And also, think about it. This is let's say they're 3 professional stand-up comedians. They go on tour. They perform every night wherever they live, and maybe they perform in other states. I don't really know. Okay, potentially their careers. But these are 3 professional stand-up comedians who have made a very serious topic, not funny, right? Not humorous. They haven't taken the sting out of it. They've just tried to what are they doing here? Weirdly bully Ariel into silence. I don't know what this is. I don't know. It's just a bizarre way to respond to this. It's really strange.
With you mean, or
In general, if you're a sensitive guy, that's what it is.
So it sounds like you're supposed to have dialogue.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. That's not what I do.
Yeah.
I don't entertain.
So he was upset about the fact that you brought up the Brock Lesnar thing.
No, I didn't even bring it up years ago.
Because I had heard that.
In 2015, UFC 199, the narrative is, and I'm not a reporter. I don't.
This is just
cite
the
sources.
narrative.
This is the narrative of the entire world.
And this is what you said on the fight campaign.
I didn't say this on the fight campaign.
He said this
on his show, but I think this is where his kind of attitude towards me comes is UFC 199. He leaked the Brock Lesnar news and got his credentials pulled and banned from the UFC.
That was Dana, right? Because Dana got mad about it.
That was the UFC. But and then in his text he goes to me, he goes, "Do you really think they'd ban me over something little like that?" I do, because you got to remember at UFC 199, what was the UFC trying to do with UFC?
There's this weird pivot that's happening. I don't really know what's going on with Brendan now, but there's this weird thing he's doing. There was a moment where he was like anti-UFC, anti-Dana White, and then suddenly now he kind of excuses everything they do. He kind of excuses everything they do. Tries to explain Dana White's, way of thinking a lot, which we understand. Dana White, obviously, look, he's a piece of shit, but we all understand why he does the thing that he's doing. We understand that, not paying the fighters correctly probably serves the UFC's bottom dollar a lot more. He can talk about how the marketing and didn't have to fire anybody, that's why they don't, all that stuff, whatever, to excuse not paying fighter pay. But it's still not the right thing to do. It's still not the ethical thing to do, the moral thing to do. It still doesn't feel right to see the fighters crying over $50,000 fight bonus because it's legitimately going to change their life or allow them to basically be able to take their family on a holiday and shit. No one wants to see that. These guys and girls should be paid adequately so they don't have to go out there and basically risk life and limb to get the fight bonus just to make sure that they're able to kind of pay the next bit of rent for the couple of years going forward. No one wants to see that. So we don't need anybody to rationalize or explain to us why Dana does the things he does. We know why he does it. They're just still scumbaggy things to do. But for whatever reason, somewhere down the line, something changed. And again, this was the guy that exposed, allegedly, that Dana White had maybe slept with his ex. I forgot that girl's name, and he was calling him, Eskimo brothers and stuff, right? And now suddenly he's pivoted into this dude who kind of excuses everything, and now he's basically siding with the kind of Dana White narrative of the story of what happened, with this announcement with Brock Lesnar, which again, we don't know if it's true. We don't know if it did happen. Who cares? But again, why bring it up? Why mention it? Why use it as a stick to beat Ariel Helwani with? I just don't get it, especially now. Like, things have changed and moved on. He's doing good things. He's in a better place. I don't understand why this is a topic now. You know what I mean? It just, for someone that says he feels like Ariel Helwani has more underlying issues towards him, it feels like he has underlying issues towards Ariel, which again, it's fine. He's friends with Luke Thomas. Luke Thomas and Ariel have beef. If you're going to side with your boy, just say, he done some fucked up shit to Luke. I don't like it. I'm not going to mention it. He knows what I'm talking about. But fuck Ariel. Cool. Everyone's cool with that. But this whole new narrative he's painting, twisting himself, it just sounds so idiotic to me. Maybe it's just me.
200 announced Brock Lesnar. Sell the company.
Yeah.
They're trying to get evaluated for the maximum, whatever, $4 billion.
Yes.
And then having Brock Lesnar was going to do that. So by him stealing their shine and releasing it It's a business. That's why Dana was like, "You're out of here."
Now let me just stop you. You said
Now I don't report that.
right now. What you just said, him stealing the shine and reporting that. Ariel may have a different point, a story on that, and that may not be fair to him. But that's what I heard too. All I'm saying is that,
but the entire MMA community heard that.
Yeah.
But again,
and all you were doing was reiterating that.
You were just saying that. Yeah.
You didn't come up with that story. That's just something you said.
I've heard that
story 10,000
Did I hear it from the
times.
horse's mouth, which is Dana? No, but I heard it from basically the wrangler.
Yeah, I did too.
Of what I'm saying, the guy who's the closest to the horse.
Well, we all knew.
Who's also a close friend.
Yeah, Ariel.
I don't know Ariel.
Yes,
I don't know Ariel.
Ariel wasn't allowed.
We're not
to
friends.
Come in. He
We have
wasn't
no-
allowed. Wasn't he banned from?
Yes.
Yeah. So we all knew that.
Now, do I think they should have banned him? No.
Right, yeah.
That's not my doing. I'm not a journalist.
Right.
I don't dig into the story.
We'll let it go another minute. He's just talking shit here.
I don't give a fuck.
Right.
That's not what I do.
Yeah, you do. You clearly do give a fuck. That's why you're talking about it. And that's why you got pissy when, again, do you remember the clip, honestly, when they're doing the fight companion? Josh Thompson, or is it Josh Thompson, whatever. It depends how you look at it. Some people are saying he was fishing and he was trying to bait Brendan into saying that stuff. But from what it seemed like, it was more like Josh asking, what do you think's going on in the fight, or what do you think's happening here, or especially with maybe Ariel going from the ESPN to Showtime, and Brendan immediately leapt on it to dig in and said, "Oh, he's only there because I said no. That's that. I'm here. That's why he's there." It's like, so pathetic, man. Grow up. These guys, again, grown men with careers. They're doing well. They both got successful shows. It's like, what is this? This is a nonsense. It really is a nonsense.
Yeah.
That's his issue.
So that word was kind of already around.
It was.
It's been around forever. I didn't start.
So
that.
you didn't start anything.
No, God, I
No.
don't have the. I don't have. I
think-
guess I could.
Yeah, it wasn't like you were saying something new.
I think
God.
what happened was.
That's the narrative.
I think what happened was on the Fight Companion.
God love Chappelle in it. He's a perfect person to back you up in an argument because he's so oblivious to everything, right? He just about remembers his own name. Do you know what I mean? Oh, what? There's trees? Shit, man. What? People play football with their feet? Fuck, man. Do you know what I mean? Bless him, man. Bless him.
Brendan was talking. We
Yeah.
were having a great time.
Drinking whiskey.
We were drinking.
Like the least curious guy. He's only curious about music, right? When it comes to hardcore bands or, like British bands and stuff, he's, I'm sure he's a savant. I mean, he could be telling you stuff that you'd be fucking having your jaw hit the floor. But anything else concerning the world, he has absolutely no idea, man. He probably hasn't necessarily even owned a TV. Those kind of guys, like just unique, just lives in a cloud of naivete, right? In a cloud of obliviousness, which must be nice. It must be bloody nice.
Whiskey, but we were just talking, and Ariel came up. I was joking around because I've seen how it's my fault because Rampage Jackson.
Isn't it, again, sorry to break it again, but isn't it disgusting to see Brian like this, right? 50-year-old man, 50-plus-year-old man, loads of experience in the game, credits coming out of his ass, stand-up specials, TV series, movies, having to acquiesce and basically, act as a human defense shield for Brendan because essentially he butters his bread, which is fine, isn't it? He butters his bread, you make sure, you keep that sweet. But this is the only proper paid gig he has, isn't it, if you think about it? Yes, he does stand up on the road, all well and good. But, he doesn't, if you're an OG T5K fan, you'll know stand up has never really been something that Brian wanted to do. He wanted to be a movie star or a TV star first, and he just happened to be really good at stand-up, which is annoying because he's actually amazing at it, and I wish he'd just commit to it 100% and do it as his career. But it is what it is. You can't tell people what to do in their career. But he clearly knows that this is the only thing he has, and he can't risk for this to go away again, right? He just cannot. A podcast with Sam Tripoli, as good as Sam Tripoli as a friend he's been, it's not going to be lucrative, right? Sam Tripoli, the stuff he talks about is always going to get him shadow banned or blacklisted on certain sites. So the options for you to kind of monetarily grow that are completely limited. So the only thing that can actually give him money in his pocket to allow him to keep up that alimony payments and put his kids in private school and pay for the Tesla and shit is this. Do you know what I mean? And obviously I heard on the T5K subreddit that supposedly got engaged, so congrats to him. But still, this is so disgusting. A man his age having to do this, right? Like basically treating Brendan like he's some 18-year-old kid. The guy's like, 37 years old, right? To protect him and explain for him and basically, say it in plain English, like try to basically sympathize what thoughts come into him. I just don't know. I really don't know.
I remember wouldn't talk to Ariel one time, and I always thought he had a beef, and I was just joking.
And remember, Rampage said he cost me $2 million.
Yeah, and I said you don't like Ariel, joking around. He goes, I have no problem with Ariel. I was just I don't know. I just brought it up.
You're not from this
I
world.
wasn't trying to
Yeah.
stir shit.
No, you're not
No.
from this world, so you
I
don't
wasn't
know.
trying to-
You don't know the
I
background.
wasn't trying to be mean to
Yeah.
Ariel. I was just, and then I said, he said something about that,
Cost him $2 million.
yeah, something that a lot of money, and so
But again, I don't think Ariel did that.
no, he didn't do it
intentionally.
on purpose. But we were just talking, and I think Ariel felt mischaracterized,
Fair point.
and he got upset.
Oh, yeah.
And
Because
I
that's the
think-
narrative around him, right? Like difficult to work with. Blah blah. I've never worked.
That's the narrative that you start. This guy is such a plonker. Isn't that the narrative you started? You basically reignited a narrative. The narrative was kind of dead, and you took a fresh match to that, to that fire that just been put out, and you lit it back up again. God damn it! You can't throw stones and hide your hands, Mister. This is basically what he's doing. Look, even figuratively, look at that pose. That's him throwing stones and hiding his hands. It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Work with the guy.
But he seems like he's working a lot.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Look, he's a very good journalist,
he's the best we have.
and he's an important journalist in MMA.
Yeah, we need him. You need
Empty,
these guys.
empty platitudes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you need him because Ariel will ask the tough questions once again, and
Why is he making faces? Isn't Ariel known for having very combative interviews? Isn't he known for, ruffling feathers? Isn't he known for upsetting people, for basically playing them off each other and saying he said, she said? Again, I'm not a fan of it, but he's known for being that guy. And again, for a civilian who hasn't never, I don't know if he's trained in jiu-jitsu or whatnot, but he doesn't look like somebody that can fuck people up. Yeah, he just looks like a journalist. He does go out of his way to really say some controversial and sometimes spicy thing to fighters. And for the most part, he puts himself right on the front line with this sort of shit. So I don't understand why he's making all these faces. But I guess, again, it might be just something he does to kind of, hide from the fact that he feels like he's a little bit uncomfortable in position. I don't really know. But yeah, I hate the way Brian's sitting. I just hate it. It really drives me up the wall. And that fucking V-neck and those gazelles. He's probably got ankle socks on as well. Or black dress socks. Like, ay, this dude, man.
I think he's a very sensitive guy. It's
Yeah.
not a knock. He's just sensitive. I think he went on some podcasts, from what I heard, and kind of
My boy Pat McAfee
maybe
show.
mischaracterized you a little bit.
I didn't see him, but
Oh,
Maybe
the
not,
lies.
but I
no,
think,
for
again,
sure he did. But my thing, like, even that's fine. That stuff doesn't. I'm not that sensitive. Even that doesn't bother
Should I
me.
slap you
Yes, you are.
just for Ariel? Should I give you a little slap just to make it?
Can I treat you like I would Ariel? Do you want to put on a suit and glasses and I'll slap you around a little bit?
Well, hold on.
Well, no, I thought.
No, because I feel like I should be allowed to slap you because you.
But he doesn't get slapped.
No, because you drew first blood, and I think you were
Fair.
a little bit, insensitive.
But was he insensitive?
But wait, how was it
What's
first
that?
blood if he wasn't saying anything new?
Well, I did call him a weatherman.
Don't.
Oh, okay,
I didn't say
okay.
I was going to do it.
That's a heavy.
Bro, that
hand.
yeah,
That's for you,
That was a
Ariel.
heavy
There you go,
slap.
Ariel.
Yeah.
Why you gotta hit him that
I
hard?
feel like
Anyway, enough of that, man. These guys are fucking boring as shit. So we got the first part of it. We saw that basically, there was no apology from Brendan Schaub. He wasn't sorry. He kind of tried to. He did the worst thing possible. He didn't really say sorry. Then he tried to. Then he doubled down, but he didn't. The worst kind of. I won't say bully, but the worst type of protagonist in this sort of situation, right? Where you try and say something controversial, you try and stir the pot. The moment someone confronts you about it, you then pretend like you're over it and you're above it and stuff. Wash your hands of the thing. I didn't see this. I didn't see that. I don't know. Yes, you do. You see everything. You're on your phone every single day when your girl doesn't have it. Do you know what I mean? Let's not pretend that this isn't what it is. So let's then go on to the response that was the piece de resistance in this whole affair. Ariel Helwani's response on his show, the MMA Hour. Is it what it's called? The MMA Hour, right? This was really good. I'm not going to lie. This was a really decent response when it comes to replying. Again, far more funny than 3 professional stand-up comedians could ever be, which is really bizarre, no? Don't you think that, all right? Imagine this dude is, a sensitive MMA journalist who happens to be way more funny than 3 dudes who purport to be professionals at making people laugh on stage or making people laugh on podcasts. I just find that very, very, very interesting. So let's get this video up on here. Hopefully it loads. It should be loading in a minute. Bear with me. Let's see what you guys are saying on the chat at a minute. Alex is saying it's mint. I think for the voice, great sound. Sorry for the commenting heaps. Just spray painting, no problem. It's all waffle. He's just trying to backtrack what he said. Yep, for sure. Dosh Pitt says laugh. Why do these get fake guys laugh like this at each other's jokes? Yeah, I've noticed that too. There is this new, I think Brendan does it too, that There's that new laugh that they all have at the moment. I'm assuming most of it is just like a kind of an extension of what Joe does. Joe's got that laugh where he kind of like puts his hands on his chest and leans back. So I'm assuming they just copy what he does, without realizing, because I think most of them don't watch the news. They just listen to Joe Rogan's podcast as their kind of news source and a place to kind of gauge where their opinion's going to blow. Do you know what I mean? Which is a bit cringe and a bit awful because they're all adults. But the fact that quite a large number of them decided to move to Texas because he did shows you just how much pull and influence he has in that whole crew. So I think it's part of that. And also it might be just the entertainment laugh. I mean, there's an entertainment laugh that you do where you kind of, you want to feign like you're having the best time in your life and you want to make it seem like you're the center of the party. So you have this weird kind of, this weird exaggerated laugh that no one really does in real life. I mean, if you go around your actual friends and you laugh like that, they'll be looking at you like, what's wrong with you, man? LA's changed you. I mean, those guys over there have made you dumb. But obviously when you do it around people in the entertainment industry, they look at you like, yeah, man, he gets it. He really, really gets it. Anyway, let's see if I can, let's see if I can load this up properly. What it's saying. Let's get it up. Let's load it. I hope it's gonna go full screen. Why is it not going full screen for? Weird, isn't it? What's this? Someone said in the comments. Gabriel Sanchez says Ariel and Luke squashed their beef recently. Oh, really? Is that true? I didn't know about that. I thought they still had some sort of problems. That's why I assumed Brendan was going so hard at Ariel in the first place. Interesting. If that's true, I don't really sure that's true. If that is true, then bloody hell, fair play, fair bloody play. Hold on, let's load it up. Why aren't you loading? You absolute murderous. Let's see if I can get it up on here. Come on. Why isn't it? Is it playing? There we go. Is that playing? No, it isn't. Why is it loading? This is annoying, isn't it? What if I do this?
We're back on Friday. P.S.
Put this.
Congrats on the new
Is that gonna work?
job. And so there it is.
Cool.
There's the first entry.
Let's get this up
What
on
an
the screen.
interesting- I mean, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for the congratulations. I don't get that one, and so I know a lot.
You know
of
what?
You
Let's
now
just
wanna
stop
hear
this.
My take on.
I don't know why it's not giving me full screen, but I'm gonna have to make the screen smaller and just zoom in, and hopefully that works. This is being so annoying. Bear with me 1 second. Let's get this to work. Copy. Can I do copy video URL? Maybe this might work. Maybe if I put it in a new screen, that will give me something. Maybe. Let's see. Come on, son. It's unstreamable, so maybe that might be the reason why it's kind of messing up. The other one got uploaded directly onto Reddit. Okay, what's Gabriel saying? They met at Jake's event, both working for Showtime. Ariel Helwani received his black belt in Jiu-Jitsu 8 years ago. Oh, really? Awesome. He's a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. Oh, that's probably why he stuffed the takedown really well, isn't it? What was that clip? Who was he meeting in the gym? Was it there's a clip of Ariel Helwani going to a gym, right? And he stuffs his takedown really well. Okay, amazing. I didn't know he had a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. That's a flipping amazing. Incredible to know. But still, Brendan threatening to fight him is just,
Saturday. We're back on
typical
Friday.
Brendan.
PS-
But yeah, hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can. This should work now. Come on, this should work. This should work. Come on, you sweet. Yes, there we go. We got the full screen. Okay, let's dive on deep. So, this half, we're going to analyze Ariel Helwani's response to, obviously, that terrible, shitty non-apology from Brendan. As per usual, I'm going to aim to only stop this within the first minute and then analyze and then continue on from there. But yeah, let's continue on. Hope you can see that. If you can, and let's play Ariel's response.
Congrats on the new weatherman job. And so there it is. There's the first entry. What an interesting. I mean, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for the congratulations. I don't get that one. And so I know a lot of you now want to hear my take on Brendan's segment about me yesterday, I think it was. And yes, of course I saw it. I don't play the certain type of game that he plays where he pretends like he doesn't see things. And then it's like, oh, I don't run my social media. Oh, I didn't see this. Oh, I heard this. No, we know you run your social media. We know you see everything. We know that you're aware of everything and are just kind of playing it up. And that's fine. I guess it's a good gimmick. I don't get the weatherman thing. I honestly don't. In fact, that was the first time I heard about it. Is it an insult? Does it mean like we're sometimes right, sometimes wrong? I mean, it would be somewhat ironic considering the source. Sometimes right, sometimes wrong. I like to pride myself on being always right.
That's funny.
So I don't get that one. And obviously, that's not what I'm mad about because I didn't bring that up yesterday. And I'm not even mad. And so I'll go back to the previous point that I made at the top of the show. I knew he was never going to apologize. I know that wasn't even a sincere apology that I
Of course
got
not.
on text. It's because I tweeted about it on a Wednesday, several days later, and there was a code word in there about a Reddit page that love him dearly. And then only afterwards, 12 hours later, did I get the quote unquote apology. And then I said, all right, are you going to do this publicly? Because you know, said some lies about me publicly. So it seems like the natural place. Of course, I knew he wasn't going to come back and be as sincere as he was on this text on camera. He can't.
To be fair to him, though, to be fair to Brendan a little bit, I think Ariel did mess up in that way. If you're going to try to get Brendan to apologize or to recognize his wrongs, the one thing that you can't do is even mention or suggest that you are aware that the T-Fat-K subreddit or exists, the Friday Night Kids subreddit. You can't, right? Because that place is essentially only exists to highlight how dumb and unfunny the guy is. Do you know what I mean? So the last thing you want is for him to know that you've read anything on that page, or you scanned it, or whatever it may be, or you know what PF Chang's is, or you're a hater, or you know about Papa and all that stuff. Like, he's not going to have it. Do you know what I mean? So it was a little bit naive for him to expect to have an apology and him kind of, sending out the sort of dog whistles to everybody on that subreddit. It just wasn't going to work. So let's be a little bit, safe, or let's be a little bit understanding of Brendan's position in that sense.
Can't do that. And so the funniest thing about the whole thing is I'm watching this segment. He doesn't even bring it up. His boy Brian brings it up, who continued to say, Ariel's so sensitive, Ariel's so sensitive, Ariel's so sensitive, Ariel's so sensitive. Newsflash for Brian, who I've never met before other than the time that he's been on this podcast. What makes you think I'm so sensitive? Is it because I'm annoyed that for the past like 5-6 years, you guys keep saying these lies about me and I've never even responded once? Let me ask you this, because he kept saying on the show, we're in different lanes, almost like he's above. He's in a different lane. He's doing other things, right? He's a comedian. He's a podcaster. He's got all these shows. He's doing great. Let me ask you this, for those that watch both shows. How many times have you heard me talk about his show, him, on this show, or any other show that I've ever done? The ESPN shows, DC, Chael, MMA Hour. How many times have you heard me react to anything that has ever been said on this show from his show? How many times have you heard me talk about the state of his career? How many times have you heard me say, oh, I saw something on that show. Let me talk about this on my show. How many times? I'm going to guess 0. I'm going to say, to be fair, maybe once. I think wholeheartedly 0. Now, let me ask you, how many times does he talk about me? How many times has he reacted to something that's going on in my life? My job situation, right? The behind the scenes. Let me tell you how it really is behind the scenes. Who cares more about who in this equation? For someone who wants to come out and say that he doesn't care about me and doesn't pay attention to me and has nothing to do with me and I'm a byproduct of some drone strike, I have no idea what the hell is he talking about. Is he mad at someone? Because then come out and say it.
You know what I think? I think, again, to be fair to this whole situation, I think they both know exactly what's going on. That's a weird way to pause.
If you want to be
he looks mad. But I think they both know what the situation is. I think, Ariel was very aware of why Brendan doesn't like him. And Brendan is very aware of why Ariel doesn't like him either. I think they're both aware. They're just playing games in front of the media. And again, it's annoying and frustrating because it's a bit dumb. This whole beef is dumb. Essentially, you can just boil it down to jealousy. You can just boil it down to somebody feeling like their nose is being put out of joint. Again, no pun intended with, the size of Ariel Helwani's nog. But in general, I think that's basically what's happening. On Brendan's side of things, he obviously feels a little bit aggrieved that this kid is coming in and taking his spot, or, basically pushing him out of a deal or making him less of a priority of our Showtime. Whatever way you interpret it, I still think, even though Brendan says he's not in the same lane, I still think if you're a Showtime executive, you'd be naive not to consider getting Ariel to do the things that Brendan couldn't do, because he could easily learn the things that Brendan can do. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I easily think that could happen. So definitely that is part of the case. And of course, I'm sure Ariel has done some things to people that Brendan knows in his past, coming up in teams and whatever that it may be called, that would have made Brendan just not like the guy from day dot. That's allowed, isn't it? Because he was a former fighter. He might have crossed paths with him when he was doing media days. I'm sure stuff like that's happened before in the past. I remember someone uploaded a clip actually of Brendan interviewing with Ariel back in the day a few years ago when he used to be, I think maybe in UFC. I'm not really too sure. But I think they both know exactly what their issue is with each other, but they're just playing games. They're trying to pretend that they don't. The only annoying thing with Brendan is that he's trying to pretend like he doesn't know anything and it's all just a shock to him and he just doesn't watch social media. That's the annoying thing because we know he does, yeah? He's on his comments every day. He's on his phone all the time. When he's not podcasting, he's just glued to his phone. Let's not pretend like he doesn't read or see everything. Everyone does. You're not Joe Rogan. Relax. Let's continue.
Shooter from the hip, then come out and say it. I'm a byproduct. I don't know what the F you're talking about, but I know that you like to talk about me a lot. You like to talk about my career, my comings and goings, behind the scenes, who likes me, who doesn't like me, who wants to work with me, who doesn't want to work with me. It's a weird thing to say you don't care, different lanes, but yeah, you're always talking about me.
Very
That's
true.
strange.
Very
Yet
true.
I never talk about you. So who's the sensitive one? Who's the one who's actually bothered by all of this? It's not jealousy, right? That can't be. We're in different lanes. So what is it?
To be fair, Ariel, Ariel was close to tears when he got chucked off when his pass got stripped off of him. I think, was it in the middle of a press conference? Remember back in the day that happened? What happened to him? I don't know. Let's not, let's just be a bit safe in that regard,
I don't get it. And it's a weird thing because it's like, all right, you're saying that, I'm a byproduct. Everything you said was about me, no one else. So who are you talking about? Who do you have a beef with? Why are you always talking about me? That's the part that I don't understand. And so even afterwards, like after I was on McAfee, I got a text. Hey, man, I don't want a war. You don't want a war, right? And I'm like, no, very nice on text. Pleasant on text.
Exactly.
But then when we get to the show, it's stammering, it's having your friend set it up, it's taking little pot shots. So which one is it? Who's the real Brendan? That's what I want to know. Who's the real guy? I remember when I was removed from the Showtime gig for Mayweather McGregor. I remember when that happened. And you were very kind to me. You came up to me in the hotel in Toronto. I remember that vividly. And you said how messed up it was and all this stuff. And then I remember your show the following week and how you took some shots and how you said we did kind of the same thing. You didn't really understand why I was there. And I was like, wow, that's not the same tone. That's totally different than what I heard.
Burying
hotel.
him.
So you're not Two-Face, right? Like you're not playing an act here and then on your show playing a different act, right? Which is the real guy? I keep it 100 here. It's Helwani all day, every day. Same guy. You could say all you want about me being an instigator.
I'm not going to lie. This thing he's doing with his hands is really cringe. It reminds you of that Asian dude on Netflix. He was that dude that had a show on Netflix with the really tight Jordan 1s. He just really be strangling his Jordan 1s and he doing all these hand movements to be young and shit. This is really cringe, but I'll let him live in it. I'll let him rock.
A potzer, you could call me sensitive, you could do this and that, but I'm the same dude. And you know what's funny? After I had that little rant last week, let's play this game now. How many people reached out to you when you said I was tough to work with? How many people reached out to you privately and said, oh, I've had some bad experiences with that guy? Because I could tell you how many people reached out to me after I had to say a few things last week.
Yikes.
That's weird, right? So again, like the great Dennis Green once said, they are who we thought they were. You guys are who I thought you were. You're going to sit there and be like, he's the best, he's the this, he's the that, but then pot shot. And what was that part that you took out? What was that part? You want to beat me up? We're gonna go to the lowest common denominator. You're a comedian now. You're a pot. You got a great gig. You want to beat me up? The guy with the glasses, the guy with the suit. That's what we're resorting to. Something, by the way, that some of the toughest human beings that I've had on this show, who sometimes don't like me, have never resorted to. But is that the part that they took out? Threatening me? You want me to come to LA? Should we?
That's the weird thing and the interesting thing that I've always kind of never really understood when it comes to Brendan Schaub, when it comes to especially his pursuit of stand-up. He seems like, again, I think most comedians are like this because I think you have to have an element of thin-skinned you have to have an element of being thin-skinned in order to be a good stand-up, I think, because that allows you to sort of tap into your emotions and use your pain and your sort of your pain and what would you call it? Your pain and the things that only you know affect you to as a kind of superpower when you go on stage. You know what I mean? I think you need that. But he seems incredibly thin-skinned for somebody to be a stand-up. Like he just can't do it. And obviously, I thought when he did a show with Theo Vaughn, the King and the Sting stuff, you'd thought, especially in the beginning, that he'd kind of not grow up, but he'd kind of learn how to banter that way more because he doesn't know how to do it because in his head, because obviously he's maybe been brought up in a different way, especially when it comes to sports and, playing American football and whatnot. He might have been brought in a way of like, if somebody takes a joke too far, you just knock them out. Do you know what I mean? That is what it is. But when you're a stand-up comedian and you're, busting balls, it can go too far. But you're never allowed to get angry and hit somebody because the moment you do, you've lost the funnies. You've lost the funny battle. And then you're the one that gets looked at as a lamer. And he obviously doesn't like that, which is why usually he'd kind of make sure he doesn't put himself around people like that, does that kind of thing. Obviously with the Theo Vaughn and that show he does, the King of the Sting, that's a little bit more of a safe environment because again, he's paying everybody essentially, so then they can't go too far with the jokes. And then people, and the times that they have done, if you've watched King of the Sting before, it's been really tense and awkward because he doesn't know how to reply and get someone back because he doesn't really have a comedic bone in his body. He might be funny on podcasts for him and here and there, but in terms of being a legit stand-up and being able to kind of riff and be off the cuff and stuff, he just hasn't got the chops. It just is what it is. Maybe you can develop it when you're older, but I don't think that's possible. So it's just interesting that a guy like that will then take that same sensitivity or that same irritability into a place like MMA and into a place like being a media sort of figure, especially when you consider his background. You would imagine, in my head, I would imagine somebody as, not say charismatic, but somebody who's able to kind of, be good in front of the camera as Brendan is. You would imagine somebody who's, again, ex-UFC fighter would be able to just be a little bit more polished when he's doing his thing. He should be in a far better place career. Well, I don't know. It's a bit of a waste opportunity for somebody with the experience that he has to be in these situations where he's bickering back and forth with Ariel Helwani because he feels like his Showtime position might be under threat. It just seems a little bit lame. I mean, that's basically the crux of it. And again, for him to be triggered by somebody like this is, again, should be quite embarrassing if you're Brendan. It really should be because he's wiping the floor with you. He's making you look like a dunce, with little to no effort. Everyone's siding with him, even though a lot of people had a lot of problems with Ariel prior, legitimate ones. Still, you're so kind of clumsy in the way you approach things that people just, they just have no other choice but to side with the guy with the glasses, the weatherman, because he seems like the one that's actually talking sense. He seems like the one that's saying actually to being able to dissect things a little bit easier. I don't know. It's just a very strange way to approach something like this. It really, really is. Let's continue.
Do some bench presses? What should we do? Should we do some push-ups? What were you implying there? I don't know. I don't know what all this is about. I'm sure in a while I'll get a text, hey, bro, I don't want to fight. But isn't your guy who works on your show talking about my family on his Instagram?
Shrimp. Little shrimp.
He is, right? Talking about my family.
Shrimp with the long arms. Oh, no,
Fake,
shrimp.
phony, and everyone knows who you are now. You have been outed. Everyone knows. And maybe I shined a bit of a spotlight on it, but everyone knows your whole gimmick. Brian Callen, don't talk about me. You know nothing about me. Who are you talking about? I'm Psycho. Based on what? Based on what? This might be the first time I've ever said your mouth other than the time you were on my show. You got enough going on, my man. Don't talk about me.
You've got enough going on. Yo, Brian Callen caught a stray. And you know what? It's fully deserved, man. He deserves that. For sitting there in a flipping, what's that, cobalt blue? What is it? Flipping, a tee you get free from American Navy or something, V-neck, and those jeans, sitting cross-leg on a chair like that, it just annoys me. I don't know, when some guys sit like that, it just pisses me off. And those fucking stupid gazelles and black socks, he deserves that, right? Sitting there kind of being a human meat shield for Brendan, who's, many years his senior, because that's legitimately the only career he has. And it's really interesting. It's a good dynamic, though, because Brian essentially brought Brendan into the game, introduced him into stand-up. That famous story about, he let Brendan go on stage and do 5 minutes of stories, and then he obviously went into doing whatever. his stand-up thing, and then when it transpired that that Brian got accused of the R word, Brendan was then the guy to save him by doing a very admirable thing by still giving him half of the profits of the podcast, even when he was going through. So I understand why Brian has to kind of protect Brendan at all costs, because if he doesn't, he's gonna be able to pay those alimony costs. And if I remember, the money was quite high. I forgot how many thousands it was he has to pay to his wife. Now they've been divorced. Their kids probably go to a decent school. I think they're approaching teenage years, I'd assume, right? So he needs to ensure that this goes well again, because it's the only place that you can sell tickets to, right? He gets on there, he's able to market himself, and at the end, you say what your shows are, so maybe you can sell tickets that way. So there's a lot on the line for Brian's. He can't let this ride. He can't let Brendan get too he can't let Brendan get too agitated and basically risk the entire show, because Brendan can bounce back and do something else. Brian, this is it. If he loses T5K, I don't know where he goes from here. He tried to do podcasts with Sam Tripoli. He did it with this other dude, the what's his name called again? The nice guy who's, I think he's Asian. Is he Asian? Half Asian? I'm not too sure. That really, he seems like a good dude, but that show didn't work, too tough. So it's funny, but this stray bullet he caught from Ariel was flipping brutal. Absolutely brutal, but very deserved, right? You've got enough problems. And it's true, he does have enough problems. But again, that's the problems that he has are the reason why he's trying to basically interpret what Brendan's problem is with Ariel in a sort of PC way, right? That's what he's attempted to do. But Ariel wasn't having it. No. You're not about to call me sensitive. Maybe those girls that you were allegedly trying to commandeer into sexual favors or sensitive, because obviously they reported your ass, but I'm not sensitive. Don't do that to me. Oh, I fucking love it, man. That was a brilliant shot. I'm not going to lie. What everyone's saying in the comments here, never knew the beef existed. Yep, it does. Matthew Johnson, Jones says Brendan is cancelling shows due to not selling enough tickets. Yeah, allegedly. I've seen that on the subreddit. I'm not sure if that's true. Again, I don't think that's a fair thing, because I think a lot of the big stand-up comedian guys that are on podcasts and stuff don't sell a lot of tickets anyway. I think outside of the small top few, most of them struggle to sell tickets, especially when they go on a tour, quote unquote, especially out in kind of markets they're not really that popular in. They're all going to struggle, especially during the pandemic years. People's behaviors have changed. I've seen it with myself going out to clubs and stuff, nightclubs anyway, in the UK. There's not many people are out and about, obviously, because there's not a lot of tourists, but still the appetite to go out isn't as what it was prior. I'd imagine, especially with the fact that vaccines and stuff have been politicized so much, and there's so much attached to going out and all this sort of stuff. There's many underlying issues that are going to impact people's decision making to go to a club. And now, if you actually want to go to one after a year spending in lockdown, you legitimately are a fan of comedy. You're not just going to wander in casually into a club anymore. You have to make a real conscious decision to buy a ticket ahead of time, get your PCR test, or whatever you need to do to get in. So it's a lot more effort, I think, to go to these kind of faces. So a lot of people are not selling tickets. So it is funny to laugh at. I think obviously Brendan's is selling it, but I don't think it's a fair reflection on his ability to move or not move tickets, because he's still getting booked in some places. So it obviously goes to show he does sell tickets in some, maybe not in others, but I guess a game is a game. And then here, Eric Bryant says there's something cringe about a 50-year-old man sitting in your style, especially in chair. Exactly. It's just cringe. It's just annoying. It's cringe. It's annoying, especially when he tries to do that. Fair enough if you're going to sit Indian style, 50 years old, and you're going to start pretending like you flipping read fucking Walden, and you're going to start espousing some philosophical ideals or something. Cool, get it. When Brian's trying to be on his kind of mixed mental arts thing, cool, do that thing. But when you're trying to talk tough guy, and you're trying to be a jock, and you're trying to call this guy a weatherman and say this and say that, it just comes across cringe. Like you've got a kid. You got 2 kids and an ex-wife. Do you know what I mean? You're not a jock. You're not in the streets anymore. You're not with the boys. Do you know what I mean? You're not one of the boys. You never have. You're one of the dads. Like, because you are a dad. You could legitimately be a grandma if something went wrong. You know what I mean? Like a grandparent, sorry, if something went bad. Again, touch wood and doesn't. But still, come on, let's be real.
Brent, done with you, man. Brendan, done with you. The other dude sitting next to me pretending not to know who I am, when we all know that whole thing was concocted.
No, but let's be real. Chappelle doesn't know who you are, mate. Chappelle's the most oblivious guy of all levels. He's a super oblivious. He doesn't know anything. You know what I mean? Legitimately. Outside of music and maybe where he's from, his hometown. I think someone mentioned, I saw a clip that said, oh yeah, he was talking about his hometown a lot. He doesn't know jack shit. He's the most uncurious guy I've ever seen in my entire life. And the thing about him too that's really cool is that, usually when somebody points out something you don't know and they make a point to be like, right, you don't know this, you make an effort to then try and know something, so then they can't use that to hit you over the head with anymore. He just like, yeah, I don't know it, and I'm not going to, after you tell me this information, I'm just going to carry on my life. He doesn't even attempt to try and fill in the blanks of other things he might know. Nah, I don't need to know that. Which is, again, it's a privilege and it's a talent that I wish I had. But yeah, big up Chappelle.
I'm over it. I'm moving on. If you want to apologize, great. But it means nothing to me. I felt like I was watching the scene from Billy Madison where he's rambling on, and that's the clip that I posted yesterday. It was an incoherent, fake segment that I expected, and then some. It was useless. We all knew it was coming. We all predicted it. You're not sorry. You doubled down. You don't like me. I don't care. Enjoy your little podcast. Enjoy your little comedy sets. It's all a bit. It's all. That's what I love about comedians. They'll make fun of you. They'll say so. It's just a bit. It's just a joke, bro. It's just a joke. Get out of here with this nonsense. Fake, phonies, two-faced. That's who you guys are. That's exactly who you guys are. And everyone knows it. You're not doing yourselves any favors. You sit back on your little chair. Let me tell you how it was for Ariel at ESPN.
Exactly.
Let me tell you what happened in the bed. You know nothing.
Exactly.
You know less than nothing. Stop talking about my career. And if you're going to go to one source who has some distorted beef with me that was 1,000% wrong, reveal your source, Bubba. Reveal it. Don't start talking about a million people.
Papa, I love
Nonsense. So again,
I love
just
it.
wasted 20 minutes on this. High Road Helwani would be shattered. He would say, you're wasting time. You're punching down. There is no High Road Helwani anymore. It's the Helwani era. And for everyone who says you wouldn't say this to his face, of course I would. I'm not looking to fight anyone. I'm an actual civilized human being. But ask a couple of my friends in Cleveland who had issues with me over the past year and a half if I went right up to their face.
I don't like all this stuff again. Like, well, what is this? Don Corleone, Helwani. Like, come on, man. Let's just relax. Like, let's relax. Let everybody relax. And everyone wind their neck in. Settle down. Enough with the gun fingers. Enough with this. Ask people in Cleveland about me. Like, what? Cleveland? What are you talking about, bro? Ask those boys in Minnesota how I get down, right? What is this shit? Ask those New Hampshire goons what on. Like, this dude is absolutely wild. Look what Brendan Schaub can do to you. He can get you doing this gun finger pose and bringing it, talking mad crud on pod. That's the feeling he elicits from people, because he's such a buffoon. People just can't understand. Like, how can he be coming at me? Has he seen how does he know what he sounds like? Does he know what he looks like on camera? Has he seen the size of his face? Do you know what I mean? That's what people are probably thinking, isn't it? Like, he looks like he's wearing a Halloween mask, mate. Come on. Oh.
If I walked up to their face when they were trying to look, ask them if I'm that kind of guy. Ask Ben Askren. Ask Donald Cerrone. People in the past who have had issues with me. Do I go up to your face and try to settle beefs? Absolutely. Even when I was being banned. And the story that he doubled down on again, the whole narrative. I don't even think he knows the definition of the word narrative. Honestly,
Ouch.
I think he doesn't know the definition of the word narrative. It's the whole narrative that the whole community is talking about. Who are these people? One dude. You have one source who got it from the one guy who tried to change the story. Enough. The jig is up, guys. Phony, fake, two-face. You could keep doubling down, triple down, quadruple down. I'm not worried about it. You're not going to hurt me. You tried to hurt me going into the Jake Paul fight. It's good. I'm here, independent, on a little island, all by myself. I'm Gucci, man.
Maybe that's what's annoying Brendan also, right? The fact that he's independent, the fact that he's been able to, use his independence to basically get a bag from just about everyone, right? From what I last saw, he's got a bag from Substack, he's got a bag from Spotify. Like, he's just getting the bags all over the place. He's collecting them like Pokemon cards, right? He's not fucking around, Ariel. So maybe this is where some of the resentment comes in for Brendan too. He stayed low to Showtime. He's only been bigging up Showtime. It always seemed weird to me that he didn't really link up or have any sort of connection or cameo with the, what's what they called? What's their flipping names? Fucking Desus and Mero. That always kind of seems strange to me. Like if you were really a priority, or if they really were trying to make you a mainstay at Showtime, they would have tried to get a little crossover done, especially with, Brenda pretending to be a sneakerhead. Just because you buy expensive shoes doesn't mean you're a sneakerhead as well. Like, please stop. But anyway, it's just, the idea that he's a sneakerhead and he likes to have rap music, I thought would have been an easy kind of crossover to get into Decency Mirror, but that never happened. I don't know why. Again, maybe it did and I missed it, but I've never really seen, I don't think I've ever seen Brendan be on the Ariel Helwani show. The Decency Mirror. The closest he's done is Breakfast Club. That was ages ago too. So maybe that's part of the reason. He stayed loyal. He kind of, banged Showtime. He was screaming it from his chest. And in the end of it, they just went for the better talent. They tried to experiment with this ex-UFC guy. They tried to give him all the benefits. They did a lot. They invested a lot into that Showtime show. Below the Belt. Remember when you're wearing a suit jacket and you started to do that show and you tried to read it for teleprompter and it was obviously horrendous. And then he went into just doing a straight up podcast and sitting in the settee that he does on his own podcast show, which is say it another day. But they tried to do that way. It didn't work. Then they brought in some real professionals, and the ratings and the reviews and the comments just went whoop, up the roof, or through the roof. Sorry. So, especially when I remember it was being alleged that some people were basically alleging that Brenda was just watching Luke Thomas's analysis anyway before he went back on his own show. So they're like, you know what? Why would we listen to him when we could just get straight from the source? And he's on the same network. You know what I mean? I can see why that happened. But I can also see why Brenda would be annoyed because, if there's one guy you don't want to be smarmily looking at you whilst they're collecting their bags and, filling it up with stacks of money, it's going to be this guy, right? It's going to be Helwani with those glasses, that nose, his voice. You don't want this guy to be the one saying, ha ha. You know what I mean? It's going to hurt. So I can definitely see why Brendan is upset. But it's still hilarious to think that this is the guy that got under his skin so much. It's so cool. Especially when you consider, like I said, he was a more, I won't say hated, but he was a more like disliked person in the UFC than Brendan was at one time. And now it's completely changed.
I'm Gucci, as the kids say. I'm good. So you can make up all the stories that you want. But rest assured, we all know, and we all expected this. We know who you are. You're not fooling anyone. Well, he's the best in the business, but he's damn sensitive. Based on what, Brian?
Look, his voice. That's a good Brian
Based
Cullen.
on what, Brendan? Based on what?
I love that.
Byproduct? I'm not the one who shoots from the hip? Really? I'm not the one? Why don't you shoot from the hip? Who are you so mad at? Who was that drone strike for? Who are you so mad at? If it wasn't about me, why don't you shoot from the hip? Go ahead. We're all waiting. You won't. You won't. So that's that.
He's mad.
I mean, one pathetic segment that was. Sitting back there and listening to that. Like, really? This is what we waited a week for? You could have sent out a tweet and saved us a hell of a lot of time.
Do you think he ran away, by the way? Do you guys think Brendan ran away for the week? I don't think I'm assuming that trip was planned, especially if it was with his family. I don't assume he's just going to run away because Ariel said some mean things about him on the internet. But it was interesting how advantageous that whole thing was. But it also was nice that Ariel just kept putting his foot on his neck, went on the Pat McAfee show, kept tweeting about shit. Obviously, guys on the subreddit were just going ham and posting clips and stuff and memes of Brendan and whatnot. But it did seem somewhat advantageous that suddenly, the family trip happened to coincide with the time that he's actually getting buried by one of the leading MMA journalists on there. But,
Just do me a favor. Leave my name out of your mouth. Leave my family's name out of your mouth. Don't talk about them. Don't throw your minions under the bus when they talk about them. Just let's go our separate ways now, all right? I've never had a negative thing to say about you, your show, your experiences, all that. I've never said a thing when everyone piled on about your comedy and all that stuff.
Youch.
Never said a thing. And now you want to keep talking about my career. And then when you get called out, say, oh, he was just a byproduct. Get out of here with that nonsense. Stop talking about me. Last warning. Done. And I won't go on a media tour to talk about you. I regretted, honestly, going on McAfee's show the next day to talk about you. Because you know what? Like you told me a long time ago, true story, asked Brendan to come on my show a long time ago. You know what he said? A long, long time ago. I have a podcast. Why should I go on other people's? All right. I was like, all right.
Well, that was stinky attitude, isn't it?
I don't have that mentality. I like to spread the love, spread the wealth. And so I'm happy to go on Patrick's show. But I'm done with it now. Enough. Go back to your jokes. Go back to your little bits and your 50 podcasts that no one listened to. All right.
And that was that. And that was that. Yeah, that end bit was a bit mad. To be fair as well, I don't think that's actually something. This is the thing with Brendan. You know, he's essentially like a parrot for Joe, innit? For Joe Rogan. And that's something that Joe Rogan says. He talks about not reading comments. He talks about not going to other people's shows because he's got his own, which makes sense. Joe Rogan's got the biggest podcast in the world. He's obviously got more fans than God. So it doesn't make sense for him to read comments or to go to other people's podcasts because it's a waste of time. You might as well go in his if there's a slot. It's more advantageous. It's better for both parties to just go on his because it's going to be a longer time frame. It's a better platform, better mics, better camera. I mean, it's just a better thing overall. It's a better product. It makes complete sense that way if you can obviously get on the show. And the reading comments, like I said, he's so big of a guy, he shouldn't be reading comments. At that point in your career, you should have people maybe feeding back to you some talking points of maybe an interview he did where he didn't really touch on the right things, which obviously he has done. You see him do it with the Jack Dorsey thing. He was able to gauge what people's responses were, but he wasn't necessarily going through the comments and stuff. But obviously Brendan, because he's so enamored and he adores Joe for obviously legit reasons, but also mostly because he's able to give him a career, he just parrots what he says. So I'm sure when he said that to Ariel, that was during his kind of peak going on Rogan every single week sort of thing, and he thought that was a kind of cool guy thing to say, like, I've got my own show, why would I go on yours? And obviously at that time too, maybe he didn't want to get the Ariel treatment when it comes to the UFC. He was trying to maybe, stay on their good graces. I don't know, but it does seem like a shit thing to say, but it does feel like something he just said because Joe Rogan says it. Basically, that's what I'm basically trying to get at, I think. But it's interesting too how the tables have turned now, in a where at one point Brendan felt like he didn't need to speak to Ariel, and now Ariel was essentially taking his job and embarrassing him on social media. I mean, like, how the tables have turned, man. You have to be careful how you treat people on the way up in it, because they might be the same people you meet on the way down, as they say, that famous adage. But yeah, that's the major analysis of it. I don't think I've missed anything else, actually. I'm going to get this off the screen, but I think that might be it in terms of analysis. Since then, they've been on the show again, where I think Brian mentioned or tried to bring it up again. Oh, did you see what he said? And then he pretended like he didn't see, because this came after the response I showed in the beginning. There was another response from them at T8K, and they tried to move on and act kind of too big for their boots about it, which is obviously a bit cringe and a bit annoying. But again, it is what it is, and I think that's where it stands, innit? For the most part, what have we learned? We've learned that Brendan doesn't do apologies, especially if you mention the T8K. He's going to just double down or triple down or just be a dick because he just doesn't want to acknowledge the fact that subreddit exists, which is understandable. Because like I said, that subreddit's main existence is to illustrate how unfunny and how much of a dickhead he is. So it makes complete sense why he's going to just have like a no compliance, no cooperation, we don't negotiate with terrorists kind of stance when it comes to people that mention that subreddit. I get it. Ariel Helwani's side of things, I also understand why he's been, sensitive, quote unquote, about it, because essentially they're disparaging and trying to ruin his reputation in real time, which you obviously can never have. You have to kind of nip those things in the bud, because once those rumors kind of get, go ahead of you, they can stop bags that you don't even know are due to come your way. They can stop opportunities that are due to come your way. Like, it can damage and hurt you in a very, very big way. So you have to make a big deal out of it and say out loud that, hey, this didn't happen the way he said it's happening. This is what I'm really about. Talk to people that actually know me. You have to set the record straight early. You can't let it, gather pace. No way, Jose. And then again, the Brian Callen thing I get too. You know what I mean? Like, it's cringe and it's annoying seeing a 50-year-old man sit cross-legged on a chair and defend his daddy who's 20 years his senior. But again, we get it, because essentially Brendan is the only person keeping his somewhat fizzled out career alive. And again, it's sad because I'm a big fan of Brian Callen. I think he's one of the better stand-ups out of that whole LA comedy crew. But the way his career has essentially just nosedived post-rape allegations has been pretty gnarly to watch. At one point, he was in the Joker, or meant to be in the Joker, a lot more than he was obviously ended up being in it. And then suddenly everything's been stripped away from him, and now he's back on as a third mic on his show that he was originally set up with one of his best friends in kind of Brendan Schuab. Gnarly way for the year to end. But hey, it is what it is. I'm going to leave it there for now. That was the analysis of the show. That was episode 13 of Open Tabs. If you lot enjoyed it and you're in the chat and stuff, and check out what people say in the chat. Not very much movement there since the last moment. Brenda's whole crew is collected from various corners. Very true. But yeah, if you enjoyed the show, again, big up everybody in the chat room. I much appreciate you, everyone that kind of commented and left some pointers. Very much appreciated. I'm going to leave you guys for now. If there, I don't think there's anything I missed out. If there was, hit me up in the comments. I'm not sure if there is in the chat room. Did I miss anything out in terms of analysis? I think I've seen it, right? Let me just double check and see if there's anything that else that got uploaded on Subreddit. I don't think it was. I think that might be it. Let me just double check in case I might have missed something that might have popped up in the last few minutes. But for the most part, that's it, innit? We can say what? We can say Ariel won, but no one really won because it was a waste of everybody's time. But again, we're living in the pandemic, post-lockdown world. You know, we've got nothing else better to do with our time. You know what I mean? It is what it is. So let's just enjoy the ride as much as we can. Let me see if I can get it up any new stories. Let's see, something else is occurring here. Nothing else is happening. No, I think that might be it for now. I think that might be it. But yeah, Ariel needs to watch highlights of Schuab getting KO'd. It always makes me feel better. Yo, man, the way, again, like I said, like I find Brendan Schuab very humorous in the same way I find Dark Side Field humorous, and I also find I find Dark Side Field humorous in the same way I find Brendan Schuab humorous, because I feel like if ever you doubted yourself and you ever think you can't make it in life and your dreams are maybe a bit too far for you to reach out and achieve, I always look at people like Brendan Schaub and Dark Side Field and think to myself, if those two people can make it, then anybody else can. Do you know what I mean? They should give you hope that if Brendan, you know, with his speech impediment and his mild CTE, is able to have a career essentially where he gets paid to talk, as he says anyway, then you definitely have some hope in whatever career that you want to get in. But I never really understand why people legitimately like hate him viscerally, like to the point where, like this guy said, Josh Burke, how he enjoys watching highlights of him getting KO'd because it makes him feel better. Like, what is it about Brendan that makes people feel like that? Like, what is it that makes them have that visceral reaction to him? I just don't understand it. Again, not the most funniest dude in the world. Cool. Probably took the Showtime special too soon. We all get it. But in terms of the visceral hatred they have towards the guy, like, I wonder what it is. What is it about him that does it for people? I don't know. For me personally, like I said, I just, you know, I think he's a funny guy to laugh at from afar. But that's what it is. What else have we got here? Boom, boom. Santino. Yeah, I think that's it. There's no other news really that I'm missing out on, I don't think, in the safe part. So, but yeah. Who is Doug Seinfeld? I don't know who Doug Seinfeld is, brother. But yeah, thanks so much again for tuning in, everybody. Thanks all my papas and everybody, all the homeless cats that were watching this. Big up you. That subreddit's one of the best in the world. Keep doing what you're doing, guys, and I'll see you guys again on the other side. And see you again on the other side. This has been Open Tabs number 13. Again, if you're watching through the chat, make sure you might smash that like, hit subscribe for me. If it's your first time checking out my channel, I'm going to be doing these probably once per week, so keep an eye out for them. And I'll see you guys again very, very soon. But for now, peace out. Thanks for watching Open Tabs number 13, analysis of Ariel Helwani versus Brendan Schaub, round number 10 or 5 or 6. I don't know. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been a good one. See you guys again very soon. Until then, peace.